Chapter 19, Rhythmic Movement Skills. Naturally, it's all about developing rhythm, okay? But if we have our activities progress from easy to more complex, which is developmental level 1 to developmental level 3, they will gradually learn some rhythm. It also helps to develop social skills and a positive self-concept of themselves when the rhythmic activities are taught in a sensitive educational way. So make sure to schedule your rhythmic activities as you would other phases of the PE program. Start with basic, simple skills, and then the children will learn in sequences. Rhythmic movement skills. I want you to know rhythm is the basis. It's the basis for music and dance. Rhythm in dance is simply expressing yourselves through movement, either with or without the music. A lot of our body movements tend to be rhythmic. You know, the way you walk, some people strut, some people have an attitude about them, some people just lollygag, some people just walk. What about the beating of your heart? That has a rhythm to it. What about the swinging of a tennis racket or throwing a ball? So these rhythmic activities are particularly appropriate for our younger children. You're going to see one problem is going to be there is so much material out there. Where do you begin? Where do you begin? Hopefully, the activities in Roman numeral 6 on our outline give you a starting point on where to begin, okay? And another problem you're going to have is if you are rhythmically challenged, you are going to be very hesitant about teaching rhythmic activities. But hopefully, after teaching Roman numeral 6, you'll see that you can start basic, you can start simple, and then you can progress and add to it. So I want you to know early experiences should center on functional and creative movement forms. Functional, the basic step, clap, and such, you know, something very basic, something very simple. Your locomotor skills, those are rhythmic, and then you can add some rhythm to it. So fundamental rhythms, okay, is what we want to have as an important component of their dance, have a little rhythm to it. So when our instruction begins and it should capitalize on the locomotor skills that they already know how to do, so they won't be unsuccessful, and they will be successful because they already know how to do the locomotor skills. On page 415 in chapter 19, this is the table at the beginning of the chapter that shows the different types of rhythmic activities you want to incorporate for developmental level 1, 2, and 3. Notice the X means that the activity is an integral part of the program. So all the X's you should show them. Okay? Like for developmental level 1. Creative rhythms, simple folk dances, mixers where they mix up. Okay, what does S stand for? Receives only minor emphasis. Rope jumping to music for K through 2, that would be very, very minor, and musical games, okay? But then look at developmental level 2. Folk dances, line dances, mixers, rope jumping to music, okay? And then look at developmental level 3. So you see the progression in this chart. So what is our skill progression for developmental level 1? Okay, what should our focus be on? Our focus should be on, for grades K through 2, on how to be creative with our rhythm and our movement songs. Okay, they can learn simple folk dances and mixers with 1 or 2 locomotor movements. So I want you to know, for developmental level 1, you want to teach simple mixers in learning how to find a new partner What does that mean? How will they change partners from this group of two to another? And how will they get a new partner? So simple mixers is what that's called. And then moving rhythmically, okay? How to have a little rhythm to themselves. So you want to focus your activities requiring a minimum of instruction for developmental level 1. But you definitely want to have them to have a positive experience when they are doing the activities. For your third and fourth graders, you want more folk dances and line dances and you want a combination of locomotor skills, tinkling, basic tinkling steps, introducing square dancing, okay, in the third and fourth grade. Your emphasis should be placed on mastering those simple locomotor skills that they did in development level 1 rather than performing the dances perfectly. They're not going to perform them perfectly, so don't count on that. That shouldn't be your main objective. For the developmental level 3, which is your fifth graders, this is where your students are going to start learning more difficult steps, such as the grapevine step, the intermediate tinkling steps. You might even introduce the two-step or advanced tinkling steps in square dancing. I remember doing square dancing. I think it was the sixth grade. I don't think it was the fourth grade, but we're talking a long time ago. But what do I want you to know? I want you to know some of those students may not be comfortable in the fifth grade, developmental level 3, and moving with a partner of the opposite sex. Years ago, there was a game. It wasn't rhythmic, but I had one of my 2507 students teaching an activity where, I don't know what grade they were. Were they third or fourth grade? They weren't fifth grade. They were younger, and they did not want to hold. A boy or a girl did not want to hold each other's hands. The whole class. It was a lot of them in the class. So what do? One option is you could take the tool that we use for cascading, and they could each hold one end of the tool or a handkerchief or something. They don't have to hold hands. That's a solution. But we didn't anticipate that. It was funny at the time because they didn't want to do it. The boys and girls, mainly the boys, didn't want to touch the girls' hands. The girls weren't. They were okay with it. So your activities should be modified to allow for individual activity if that happens, if you see where they don't want to hold hands. There are some things you need to know about music to be able to recognize it, understand, and appreciate it. So I want you to know music has essential characteristics that children should recognize, understand, and appreciate. For instance, I want you to know that you need to teach tempo. And what is tempo? Tempo is the speed of the music. Is it constant? Does it gradually increase, which is acceleration, or does it gradually decrease in its tempo, in its speed? What is the speed? Like you have warm-up activity songs. What is the speed of it? What is the count? And then you have faster-paced songs that whenever we do aerobics. Another term I want you to know is the beat. What is the underlying rhythm of the music? It might be an even pace or uneven, okay? I also want you to know the term accent. Certain notes or beats in the rhythmic pattern receive more force than the others, and this is called accent. Measure is a group of beats, and then I also want you to know intensity of music is also something that's important for them to understand. The intensity, the mood, loud, soft, light, heavy. And then another term is phrase, the natural grouping of measures. Phrases of music are put together in a rhythmic pattern. So know these terms and their definitions. So, what are some sources? Uh, you need to realize that you're going to get your students to be more cooperative if they are moving to a rhythm that is stimulating to them or appropriate for their age group or the expected responses you want, or is it appealing to them? So the songs you choose is very dependent on the developmental level of the kids. You can add to it with a drum or a tambourine or a clap of the hands. Okay, so the sources, that is very much something that will encourage or discourage them. You can do what's called creative rhythms, where creativity is the goal and doing functional movements is secondary. So it's all about the process and not the outcome. And you guide the students by your suggestions or questions you may pose to them, or the encouragement you're going to give them, or the challenges that help them structure their ideas and add variety. Okay? But you're guiding them. That's necessary. You can't just let them go and do. Okay? They're not going to automatically develop creativity. So, creative rhythm. Here are some instructional procedures whenever you choose to do creative rhythm. You're going to provide the music or the rhythmic background for the students. And then when you're going to analyze the setting, you're going to ask, what is the basic idea? What expressive movements can be expected? What are the guidelines? What are the boundaries? What space are the children to use? Okay? And then listening is a very important element because the children must understand the mood or the sense of that rhythmic background whenever they are trying to decide some creative rhythm. You can use action directing statements like, let's pretend we are blah, 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 blah. Let's try being like blah, 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 blah. Try to feel like and let them be rhythmic. Let them be creative, rather. Make believe you are. Okay, so these are all suggestions of how you can guide the students to be creative. In some lessons, the initial focus may be on selecting the appropriate accompaniment, but give the children time to develop and try their own ideas. Students express their moods and their feelings, and they can show reactions to various colors and sounds by improvising dances. So the movements are going to demonstrate different aspects or components of force or gestures that actually depict their different feelings. So after you play the music, discuss it. Discuss the qualities and ask them how it makes them feel. Students are going to interpret the music differently. Folk dances can be taught in elementary PE, the traditional dances of our particular culture, what patterns or dance routines are usually done in our folk dances. It reflects our culture, our way of life, like the chicken dance. I don't know who else does the chicken dance around, besides us, but it should be developmentally appropriate. Anytime you pick anything, whether it's folk dances or any activity, it always should be developmentally appropriate. Here are some good suggestions or guidelines for modifying your rhythmic activities to increase success. If you can, slow down the music. Okay, so the students won't be embarrassed. If the dance is short, use the whole teaching approach. But if the dance is long, if it's a line dance that's long, okay, then you're going to use the part method where you're going to teach it in parts. When you introduce a new dance, place the students in scattered formation. Avoid using partners for the new activity. And avoid the left, right, or clockwise or counterclockwise orientation when you're first teaching it. Also, to avoid the students getting stressed, do the dance once or twice. The whole dance. After you taught the parts of it or without the music, then with the music. Do it several times so that they can get the hang of it. And then number 7, teach the rhythmic activities in the same way that your sports skills are taught, which basically means that you can't expect perfection in your sports skills, so don't expect perfection for these line dances or rhythmic activities as well. Your emphasis, you can emphasize strong movements such like hand clapping, foot stomping. That appeals to the boys because the boys aren't going to want to do the rhythmic activities, probably. So how can we modify rhythmic activities? You can use current music and change the traditional dances into line dances to help the students be successful. You could also arrange for partners, but that can be embarrassing for some, as we talked about. What are some formations? You can have formations for the folk dances, which are given on page 420, like you have single circle formation, or you have double circle formation, triple circle formation, and then there's other formations that they show you there, okay? And then they go on to show you dance positions like partners facing or side by side or open or closed or promenade, okay? Then we have developmental level 1 dances. Starting on page 424, I noticed the Hokey Pokey is in there. Skip to Maloo is in there. Okay? And if you keep turning, developmental level 2, that starts on page 434. The first song, they call it the bird dance, and in parentheses, they put the chicken dance. Okay? And then the La Raspa, that's a folk dance. Okay? Loomy Sticks, Taninkling is also taught in this section. Okay. Then for developmental level 3, this is where you need to realize if the students are not well developed yet, you're going to want to teach developmental level 1 and developmental level 2 activities before progressing on to developmental level 3 activities. That's a very important concept to realize if they can't get it, okay? On table 19.2 on page 419, here gives some good examples of how you can modify some dances. For instance, the bird dance, it's showing the skills of skipping or walking, an elbow swing or star, so that's simple. And it's a good introductory dance for all levels, okay? And what formation would be scattered? Shortening bread, go down, look, oh, Susanna, walking. You have to know the promenade step or grand right and left, okay? Inside, outside mixer, they talk about ring the dish rag in here and how to walk and change partners. It's not as hard as it seems, but you do it in groups of 3 in a circle, okay? So this is a good example or explanations of how you could modify some songs. So what are some takeaways from chapter 19? Our rhythmic movement that we're going to show our students helps them develop social skills. Some students need to develop social skills, and it also is a way to build up their a positive self-concept. If you do appropriate sequencing and accompaniment, these are essential for creating a climate that's going to help them feel comfortable in expressing themselves. Now, physical activity, it's rhythmic. It's rhythmic in nature. Okay, there's many activities that are rhythmic in nature. So your preparation is especially important when you're deciding on rhythmic movement activities, to ensure that you are comfortable with the sequence and the accompaniment. So you got to be prepared. So a little review and reflection, talking about the accompaniments for the different developmental levels, the focus of movements on developmental levels 1, 2, and 3, and what are some procedures, instructional procedures that you're going to use to help you teach the process of creating a movement sequence. And then how can you modify dances so that all the students will participate? This concludes chapter 19.